Good morning. I'm Chesley Maddox-Dorsey, Chief Executive Officer for A Media, parent company of American Urban Radio Networks, AURN, and Super Radio. AURN, with 25 million weekly listeners on over 500 radio station affiliates, is the only African-American-owned radar-rated network. Minority certified, AURN provides the advertising community with 3 broadcast networks, as well as social media and digital capabilities. Our Super Radio Network is a multi-format producer and distributor of marquee radio programs, including shows in the urban, top 40, rhythmic, country, and inspirational formats. I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming you to the Power of Urban Radio. This morning, our guests are 2 of the most influential women in American business. Women make up over 55% of the workforce, but only 5% of the S&P 500 companies are led by a woman. Our first guest happens to be one of them. Mary Barra, who as CEO of General Motors has broken through the glass ceiling as the first female CEO in the auto industry. Mary is a strong proponent for including more women at General Motors and is an advocate of STEM careers for women, and has gone on record stating that overhauling GM's culture is a top priority. Under her leadership, GM envisions a world with 0 crashes to save lives, 0 emissions so future generations can inherit a healthier planet, and 0 congestion so customers get back a precious commodity, time. She is focused on improving the customer experience and strengthening GM's core vehicle and service businesses, while also working to lead the transformation of personal mobility through advanced technologies like connectivity, electrification, and autonomous driving. We are also excited to have GM's Global Chief Marketing Officer, Deborah Wahl. While Deborah previously served as the Global CMO of Cadillac, Deborah has been working at what GM in a COVID world refers to as ventilator speed since she became Global CMO, especially in her work on an all-electric future. Prior to joining General Motors, Deborah worked for some key brands. For example, McDonald's, where she played a key role at the brand's turnaround, proudly bringing all-day breakfast to McDonald's consumers. Both of these incredible women somehow find time in their schedules to give back to their communities. Mary, among other external positions, you were a board member of the Business Roundtable, where you chair the Education and Workforce Committee and a subcommittee by the same name for the Special Board Committee on Racial Equity and Justice. This may explain why you were one of the first in the business community to speak out last summer in the midst of our nation's social unrest. You spoke out very early and very passionately about the impact of the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, just to name a few, stating that awareness leads to dialogue. Dialogue leads to understanding, and understanding leads to change. What changes has General Motors made?
So 2020 was really an important year for General Motors because as we looked at everything that was happening, we recognized that we needed to take decisive action and really lead by example to stand up to the injustices in society. So we first started off by saying we wanted to be the most inclusive company in the world, although I'm quick to say that's not a title we want to own on our own. We want all companies and organizations to strive to achieve that. We appointed a DEI officer to really help us, challenge ourselves internally. And we added a behavior called Be Inclusive to really make sure behaviors are what drives the General Motors culture. And so we wanted to be very deliberate in adding that behavior. We also created an inclusion advisory board, and our advisory board not only has members from General Motors, we have people who have, work in organizations that are promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, but we also included our suppliers and our dealers because we thought it was very important to, have outside views and perspectives. And then we designated $10 million to support organizations that promote inclusion and justice. So, I think it's just the beginning. We have more work to do. We continue to learn. I continue to learn with every session then. But we're on the journey, and we're going to keep making progress until we get there.
Great. Deborah, are there specific plans for critical messaging highlighting social justice challenges over the next few years?
Yes, there are. As a matter of fact, as Mary said, as we started really listening first to understand what the key issues are, it became very apparent that there's many areas that GM can impact change. And in fact, in our desire to really affect the future with the future of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion, even among that, there's ways that we can use the innovation and the ideas and capabilities here at General Motors to impact change. So we're working on several key initiatives. We started with hackathons internally because we're a company that we don't believe we should be out there just talking about change. Thank you to our leadership. We really want to make sure that we're doing it first, and then we'll be talking about it. So stay tuned. We're really excited about some key initiatives that impact the realm of advancing a safer world for all, and that means everybody.
Great. Do you have a different way that you're going to measure that impact in the future? Because it is so important, and I know it's such a commitment that you've made to that.
We're going to actually look at measurement in many different ways. And if I start really just with the media industry overall, which is what we're here all together talking about.
Yes.
We think it's critical that we can drive growth, and not just increase media spend, which is a core component of what we're working to do, but also see that there's success in the whole diverse-owned and Black-owned ecosystem overall. So we want to see companies grow. And that will help us be able to work more successfully because a company like General Motors, we do have a lot of scale. We're proud of that.
Right.
And we need companies that can help grow with us so that they can actually deliver at scale. As you know, we've had lots of really, really good conversations about what enables that. So we're looking to change the way that we look at measurement. Right. We've changed the way that we looked at potential partners. For the Media Summit, we had over 300 people participate, many of whom we didn't know before. We hadn't done business with. So again, I thank you and NABOB and all the people that we met with very early on because you really helped us define that path.
Right. It was a wonderful summit, by the way. I enjoyed being at it. It was really great.
That is great.
Thank you. It meant a lot to our teams to do that. So we're looking at measurement in all kinds of different ways, but in the end, success will be seeing that there's growth in the diverse-owned media ecosystem, and that in turn helps fuel growth for General Motors.
Great. When it comes to media and marketing, you have gone on record to commit to changes that address multiple aspects of the media system. As you said, it includes your overall spend and the fair distribution and measurement requirements, along with infrastructure development. I know you've spoken at the Media Summit about ways you envision that playing out over the next few years, but perhaps you could give us a little bit more detail on that.
Okay, I'll take that. So we started out with the first thing, which is our commitment. We've committed to double our spend with Black-owned media companies.
Right.
To 4% in 2022 and up to 8% by 2025, and we're on an aggressive path. We've made a lot of changes in the way that we engage with diverse media owners so that we can empower that economic growth. And then after the summit, we actually created a comprehensive engagement process. And for some, this seems slow, but really we wanted to make sure that it was incredibly thorough and incredibly fair, because if we're going to be inclusive and make sure that we have growth, it's got to be really fair to Black-owned media and other diverse-owned media as well. So, and frankly, part of that is developing personal relationships. So we think that that's important too. We're now in the process of dealing with specific diverse-owned briefs that are for not only GM brand, but our specific brands. And we should have those wrapped up in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So we'll be able to then come back to market with all the answers and really show where we will be working on the spend.
And I have to say, I'm so proud of the work that the team did because the listening really did drive change. So it kind of gets to what we stated from the beginning.
Right.
And frankly, there's been lessons learned of how we can be better in this media space that we've applied to other parts of the company. So it's been really powerful.
Wonderful. It's the way it's supposed to work, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's organic. The figures that you said, which I thought were fairly aggressive in terms of doubling the spend, and I know we had some give and take earlier this year about the discussion of that, they represent total media commitment, television, print, digital, radio. I wonder if you could give us some sense of how you foresee members of NABOB playing a role in that growth.
Well, we absolutely think that NABOB is a really important organization for us to accomplish these goals. When you look at the role that you play in support of minority and Black-owned owners in the broadcast and media industry, it's really critical to continue to support and fund the growth of these companies and allow for projects that provide this growth. So we're going to continue to support NABOB and your members, and we look forward to doing more and more from a custom content opportunity, and I just hope to see it grow.
Wonderful.
I'll add on to that.
Okay.
Because this is good. And it's really important for all of us that we stand by our commitments and that we show step by step. So as you know, we did make a bold promise and we took into account all the feedback. And one of those requests was that, one, we look at multi-year deals so that we can have a longer term commitment. So I was thrilled, actually, one of our first steps that we took was to make a 3-year commitment to NABOB to sponsor this conference for the next 3 years. So I think that was the first step that we took. And then beyond that, we also have, through the Diverse Zone Summit, we've expanded all the opportunities, and one of the commitments was to establish a multi-year agreement, and we're with NABOB overall. As you know, we've had a great start with Gia Peppers and where we're going with that. It's all been new spending this year that has really changed the way we've been able to look at things. So we're actually working on multi-year agreements as we speak. As soon as we finalize those and we come to all the mutually agreeable terms, we'll be able to announce something more specific, and we hope that that will happen in the next few weeks. So NABOB has really served as one of our first partners to put that into action. Again, that all started with the first meeting that we had with you all and Jim Winston, and really helping establish some of these key parameters. And then the final thing that I think is really exciting, NABOB will be the first recipient of funding from our Marketing Incubator Fund. So we're really, again, the conversations have been great. We've seen the need to dedicate some support to diverse-owned media organizations so that they can actually support the industry overall in growth. So we'll be coming back with more details on that as well.
That's fantastic. So I really should have said, welcome to the first of many of your NABOB, as opposed to just welcome to NABOB, right? So, coming through the airport this morning and hearing the music in the airport, I realized I actually am in Detroit. And historically, Black radio and Black music have contributed, I think, in no small part to General Motors' success and brand recognition. African Americans have always been passionate about Cadillacs, including the overwhelming support of the hip-hop community for the Escalade. That said, audio has played a significant part in GM's profile. How do you see that playing out in the future?
Well, I definitely see it continuing. And, Cadillac was really one of our first brands to truly resonate within the Black community. And if you look at it, that brand has inspired so much music, from jazz to blues to rock to country to hip hop, almost every form of music. And Cadillac has been referenced thousands of times, whether it's the song title, the lyric, the album, the artist. So we're really proud of that. And, for decades, musicians have been inspired by the brand and what it stands for and the feeling that the vehicles evoke. So we're really proud of what Cadillac has been, and I think even more excited about where it's going.
What is on the horizon to further embrace the inevitable role of Black influencers in all forms of media, maybe even in the Camaro, which I know is one of your favorite vehicles?
Well, I think it too is a vehicle that's had a lot of music written about it.
Yes.
I think right now there's a lot of work that's really going on, though, continuing to build on Cadillac, because we think that's something that's truly special and unique as we really rebuild the Cadillac brand to regain true luxury status. And I think we're very close to it, and there's some interesting artists who have partnered with us to make that happen.
Yeah, I think, as Mary said, the role of music is just critical. So we definitely see the value in continuing to have strong relationships with Black creatives and influencers who share our brand values. And I think one great example is the work that Cadillac has done with Regina King, who is amazing, incredible, and so inspiring. And she is certainly representing us as we go into the EV world. She's doing the lyric launch for us. And I think behind the scenes, the most important influence she gave was she really brought diverse directors also to all of the work that we've done at Cadillac. And then on the music side, because music is always so critical to every brand, especially our brands, Cadillac, as another example, has recently partnered with recording artist SZA and also with Kid Cudi. And they have become spokespeople for Lyric as well, for our pre-order and reservation campaign, which is super important because that's how we're going to really make sure that EVs are represented for all audiences and that everyone learns about what benefits they bring.
Speaking of the all-electric future, let's talk a little bit, if we can, pivot to sustainability. I think I've read everywhere, I love the phrase, General Motors envisions a world of a future with zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. You also are the biggest proponent of mass adoption of electric vehicles and to bring the world to an all-electric future. And I know when I spoke with Deborah earlier, I said, Deborah, we're all in as well. So, Mary, how is General Motors going to achieve this? It's such an ambitious goal.
Well, I think we're uniquely positioned to achieve this goal. And, I think when you look at the brands that we have General Motors focused in the United States, we represent, all different segments, all the way from Chevrolet to Cadillac. And, we want to make sure as we make this transformation to electric vehicles that we bring everyone along, that everyone has an opportunity to participate. So I'm so excited about the Everybody In campaign that we've leveraged, because it really represents how we're trying to drive this, how we decide on what vehicles we're going to develop and as we put them into the portfolio, because we want to make sure that we take EVs mainstream, and that's going to fund our growth and really allow us to succeed. But when you look at the loyalty we have and the share that we have today, we have relationships with these customers. And we've set very ambitious goals to be carbon neutral by 2040. And also, we want to get the whole light-duty portfolio to be EVs by 2035. And that is going to require us to make sure we reach every part of the market. So I'm excited about it, and excited about, I feel the messaging is really resonating, where people are taking General Motors serious, that we want to put everyone in an EV.
Well, obviously, putting everyone in an EV is going to require some education. And I know, Deborah, you're talking about educating America on the importance of sustainability. And, General Motors has really gone all in saying, yes, we have global warming, and let's educate people about that. So do you intend to use Black influencers to assist in this effort?
Absolutely. I think it's critical, because we don't arrive at a future which we envision unless everybody really is in.
Right.
So there have been concerted efforts to look at every demographic, every segment, every socioeconomic group, and to make sure that we can help everyone overcome the barriers. And understand what charging takes, where you can do it, how you can do it. That's the first barrier. And then the second barrier is to get people in an EV. I don't know how many people in this audience have had the opportunity yet to actually drive an electric vehicle, but it's an experience like no other. So we've really reached out to many influencers across the board for all of our brands to make sure that we can get that message across and help educate and just normalize the experience overall. And then we're going to mesmerize all of them.
I love that. Normalize and then mesmerize.
Yeah.
And we're, as I said, we're all in to support that effort because it's our future.
I do want to add one last thing, because this was really exciting. This summer, we actually worked with a program called Discover the Unexpected, and we had 10 interns from HBCUs.
Oh, great.
And so, exactly to that question, we gave them the assignment of how would you bring EVs to the Black community? What would you do? And so they actually presented us with several ideas, several strategies about what they thought. And of course, it's always eye-opening because they're young.
Right.
And they have such a different perspective than we do about the messages, about what's important to learn, how would you want to learn it, what channels you would go through, and how would you help more people discover what those issues are and what the benefits are actually to the world of driving electric vehicles. So I wanted to make sure I got that in because we're really excited about that. And we continue to use our relationships with the HBCUs to really grow and develop that. And we'll put an effort even more on that side.
Great. Well, it's our future, and we all care about it. This has been quite interesting, and we've all learned something. Your commitment to NABOB is really quite admirable. So I'm really looking forward to getting to spend much more time with you, hopefully in person, in the next NABOB conference for the next 2 or 3 years. And on that note, I guess we should wrap up. And I just wonder if there are any last thoughts, Mary, that you would like to share.
Well, you know, we're really encouraged by many others like NABOB that share our goal of creating a better future and also recognizing how we get there matters and making sure we do it in an equitable and an inclusive way. And at General Motors, we have a long history of really focusing on diversity and inclusion, and we want to build on that history as we make this transformation. So it's not only the culture that we create within the company, but it's also the way that our vehicles and our teams and our partners and how we can impact the world in a positive way. So, you know, our transition will also recognize racial justice, equity, and we're working on increasing our pipeline. So again, we're thankful for the great relationships we continue to foster with NABOB and for your members. And, you know, together, I think we can do amazing things and make progress toward our goal of creating an inclusive company and an inclusive world.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We'll look forward to welcoming you back in the future.
That sounds great. I look forward to it, and I look forward to continuing to learn of all the great work and the progress that we're making as we work together going forward.